In the annals of American crime, few disappearances loom as large or as chillingly as that of James Riddle Hoffa, a man so powerful, so feared, that he controlled an empire of labor and money. Yet on a sweltering summer afternoon in 1975, Jimmy Hoffa simply vanished, without a trace. How can a figure of such colossal stature, with the eyes of the nation often fixed upon him, disappear into thin air? The answer remains one of the most enduring, unsettling riddles in U.S. history. To understand the seismic shock of Hoffa's vanishing, we must first understand the man himself. James R. Hoffa was more than just a Union leader. He was a titan, a legend, and to many, a kingmaker. Rising through the ranks of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, he transformed a disparate collection of truck drivers into America's largest and most formidable labor union. With millions of members and an immense pension fund at his disposal, Hoffa wielded unprecedented political and economic clout. He was a force, often described as brash, charismatic, and utterly ruthless. His power was undeniable, but it came with a dark shadow, a deeply entangled relationship with organized crime, particularly the American mafia. The mid-1970s was a tumultuous era in the United States. Watergate had just reshaped the political landscape, and the grip of organized crime, while often insidious, was still very real. Hoffa, despite serving time in prison for jury tampering and fraud, still harbored ambitions of reclaiming his throne within the Teamsters. This ambition, however, put him on a collision course with those who had inherited his power, and more dangerously, with the very mob figures who had once been his allies. The fateful day was Wednesday, July 30th, 1975. The setting: the Machis Red Fox Restaurant, an upscale suburban eatery in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, a quiet, affluent community just north of Detroit. Hoffa had arranged a lunch meeting, scheduled for 2 p.m. His expected company? Anthony Tony Pro Provenzano, a notorious New Jersey capo in the Genovese crime family, and Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone, a powerful Detroit mafia figure. These were not casual acquaintances. Provenzano, in particular, was an old adversary, a man with whom Hoffa had a bitter, long-standing feud rooted in union politics and mutual resentments. Hoffa had publicly vowed to expose mob influence within the Teamsters, a threat that had undoubtedly reached the ears of the men he was scheduled to meet. Hoffa left his summer cottage in Lake Orion that morning, driving his green 1974 Pontiac Grandville. He made a stop at a local union hall, then proceeded to the Machis Red Fox. He arrived early, around 1:30 p.m. He was seen making a phone call from a payphone outside the restaurant, telling his wife, Josephine, that he was waiting for some people. He also called his longtime associate and confidant, Louis Linteau, confirming his whereabouts and expressing mild irritation that his contacts were late. Witnesses, including Hoffa's foster son Chucky O'Brien, who claimed he wasn't there but whose car was later found at the scene, saw him waiting in the parking lot. He was spotted leaning against his car, looking somewhat impatient, but not visibly distressed. As the afternoon wore on, Hoffa's meeting never materialized. His associates didn't show. By 2:30 p.m., Hoffa was still alone in the parking lot. At approximately 2:45 p.m., multiple witnesses reported seeing Hoffa get into a maroon Mercury Marquis Brougham. This car, later identified as belonging to Joey Giacalone, Tony Jack's son, was seen driving away from the restaurant with Hoffa in the passenger seat. And then, silence. A profound, permanent silence. By 4 p.m., Hoffa's family grew concerned. Josephine Hoffa called Louis Linteau, who went to the Machis Red Fox, finding Hoffa's unlocked car in the parking lot, but no Hoffa. The car keys were gone. Linteau called Hoffa's son, James P. Hoffa, who immediately flew to Detroit. The local police were notified, and what began as a missing person report quickly escalated into one of the largest and most intensive investigations in FBI history. The abandoned Pontiac, a silent sentinel in a quiet parking lot, became the haunting symbol of a disappearance that defied explanation. Initial police searches yielded nothing. No body, no ransom demand, no note. Just the chilling void where a giant of American labor once stood. Decades have passed, countless hours have been spent, and millions of dollars have been invested in the search for Jimmy Hoffa, yet the official record still reads missing. However, the underworld whispers, law enforcement theories, and public speculation have coalesced into several compelling, albeit often gruesome narratives regarding his fate. The undeniable thread connecting almost every theory is the powerful, deadly hand of organized crime. The mafia hit, Provenzano and Giacalone's trap. This is arguably the most widely accepted theory. Hoffa's ambition to regain control of the Teamsters and his vocal threats to expose mob influence over the union's colossal pension fund put him in direct opposition to powerful mafia families who benefited greatly from that control. Anthony Provenzano, Tony Pro, a capo regime in the Genovese crime family and a former Teamsters local president, had a personal vendetta against Hoffa. Their animosity was legendary, even leading to a physical altercation in prison. Hoffa's meeting with Provenzano and Giacalone, ostensibly to smooth things over, was likely a lure. It's believed that once Hoffa entered the Mercury Marquis, he was driven to an unknown location, possibly a nearby safe house, where he was ambushed and murdered. The motive was clear: silence a dangerous, unpredictable man who threatened their lucrative interests and influence. Evidence supporting this. Both Provenzano and Giacalone denied being at the Machus Red Fox, yet their names were consistently linked to the planned meeting. Giacalone was under intense FBI surveillance at the time, and agents noted he made a flurry of calls shortly before and after Hoffa's disappearance. Joseph Giacalone, Tony Jack's son, owned a maroon Mercury Marquis matching witness descriptions. The car was later seized and meticulously searched, revealing traces of Hoffa's hair and blood, although the amount was inconclusive. Federal investigators were convinced this was the primary path to Hoffa's killers. The Detroit Mafia's operation. While Giacalone was a Detroit figure, the broader Detroit partnership, led by figures like Joseph Zerilli and his successor Jack Taco, would have needed to sanction such a high-profile hit on their turf. It's believed that the meeting was a pretense to bring Hoffa to a location where a Detroit crew, not just the out-of-town Provenzano, could carry out the act. Charles "Chucky" O'Brien, Hoffa's foster son, has long been a person of interest. His maroon Mercury was seen at the Machus Red Fox, though he vehemently denied any involvement, claiming he lent the car to others. Some theorize that O'Brien, wittingly or unwittingly, played a role in delivering Hoffa to his killers, perhaps under the implicit threat of the Detroit Mafia. The disposal. This is where the stories take on a truly gruesome and often legendary quality. Countless rumors persist about what happened to Hoffa's body. Was he buried under Section 107 of Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey? This theory gained traction for years, leading to a costly, fruitless search in 1982, and again in 2003 when ground-penetrating radar was used. Was he compacted and shipped to a Florida landfill? Was he dissolved in a barrel of acid? Was he cremated in a local mob-owned incinerator? Perhaps the most enduring and chilling rumor involves him being chopped up and disposed of through an industrial shredder or meat grinder, then scattered across various locations, including a remote swamp in the Everglades, or even a barrel of concrete at a construction site. Frank Sheeran, a self-proclaimed mob hitman and close associate of Hoffa, famously claimed on his deathbed that he personally killed Hoffa in a Detroit house and disposed of his body. While Sheeran's claims have been largely discredited by law enforcement due to inconsistencies, they illustrate the macabre fascination with the body's ultimate fate. The secret prison parole deal and government involvement, less plausible but lingering doubt. This theory suggests a more conspiratorial angle. Hoffa's initial release from prison in 1971 came with a condition from President Richard Nixon. He was barred from union activities until 1980. Hoffa fought this ban fiercely, believing it was an overreach of executive power. Some speculate, though with little concrete evidence, that his knowledge of certain dirty secrets from his dealings with corrupt politicians and even intelligence agencies might have made him a liability, even leading to his elimination by forces beyond the typical mob hierarchy. This theory is largely relegated to the fringes, but it highlights the immense power Hoffa wielded and the many enemies he accumulated across different sectors of society. Over the years, numerous properties have been dug up, concrete slabs broken apart, and lakes drained, all based on tips, confessions, and deathbed revelations. From a horse farm in Michigan to a driveway in suburban Detroit, the search for Hoffa has been relentless, yet consistently fruitless. The sheer scale and secrecy surrounding the disposal suggest a meticulously planned operation by professionals intent on erasing all traces. The vanishing of Jimmy Hoffa remains one of America's most impenetrable mysteries, a dark testament to the power of organized crime and the chilling efficiency of those who sought to silence him. What began as a lunch meeting transformed into an enigma that has haunted law enforcement and captivated the public for nearly half a century. We have the suspects, we have the motives, and we have a timeline leading up to his final moments in that quiet suburban parking lot. But the one crucial piece of the puzzle, Hoffa himself, remains elusive. No body, no definitive confession universally accepted by authorities, no grave to mourn over. His disappearance left behind a devastated family, a union irrevocably altered, and a void in the national consciousness. It's a story of ambition, betrayal, and a brutal power struggle played out on the grand stage of American history. Was he an inconvenient truth, a threat too great to be allowed to live, or simply a victim of a personal vendetta that escalated beyond control? The answers, perhaps, lie buried with the secrets of those who orchestrated his final act. The legend of Jimmy Hoffa continues to cast a long shadow, a spectral presence in the ongoing narrative of American true crime. Will we ever truly know what happened on that fateful day in Bloomfield Hills? Or is the truth forever lost to the sands of time, a whispered secret among ghosts? What do you believe happened to Jimmy Hoffa? Share your theories in the comments below. We read everyone. If this deep dive into one of America's most enduring and chilling mysteries captivated you, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more tales from the shadows of history. You won't want to miss our next unsettling investigation. Check out our playlist on other unsolved disappearances and true crime legends right here. Until next time, stay curious and remember, some secrets refuse to stay buried.